What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back inside the UCL Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. Team reporter and host Sydney Jones here. And coming up on today's episode, we'll hear from head coach Nathaniel Hackett and all three coordinators as they spoke to the media today. Plus, I'll have the latest injury report, and Cardinals team reporter Dani Sureck joins the show to take a look at this matchup from the Cardinals' perspective. All that and more coming up. It was another day of practice here at the UCL Training Center as the Broncos continued to prepare to face the Arizona Cardinals this Sunday at Empower Field at Mile High. Head coach Nathaniel Hackett gave another update on Russell Wilson. He was limited at practice today. He, of course, remains in concussion protocol, and they're taking it day by day. Coach Hackett was asked today about how they're approaching practice this week with Russell and Brett Rippon.
Again, it's a combination. We're playing it day by day, minute by minute, and we're making sure that he's right. We're making sure we're getting Rip ready also.
Offensive coordinator Justin Allen also spoke on Brett Rippon's performance this past Sunday versus the Chiefs and what he hopes he can build upon if he is the one that starts this weekend.
I thought he carried the system well. I thought he had a no-flinch mindset. When guys are coming at him, he's got his eyes still down the field. I thought he did a really good job of just communicate with everybody, get everybody on the same page, and just running the offense.
Coach Allen also went on to discuss Russell Wilson in this offense's performance this past Sunday, it being arguably their best outing of the season.
It's the Russell we all know and love. It's the guy that's going to take the team on his shoulders and do whatever he can to get the ball out or use his legs. And I got flashbacks when we used to play him back in the day of just him running down the field and going, oh no, here we go. But now we're on his side, so it was a better situation. But it was exciting to see him get back in it and just seeing the field and just understanding the rush patterns and just taking off on a few of those. But, he's a special player. And, when those crucial situations, you'd love to have a guy like that that can get you back in those games.
And looking ahead to this weekend, defensive coordinator Ejiro Evero spoke on what he's seen from Cardinals quarterback Colt McCoy and Arizona's receiving core.
Colt, we were with him in San Fran way back when, and, smart guy, very decisive. He plays very fast, gets the ball out fast. Obviously they had some protection issues last week, so we'll see how they adjust from that standpoint. But he's a very good player and has been in this league for a long time because of what he could do above the neck, and he's a very good athlete. So, they got a very, what's the word I'm looking for? A diverse group in terms of the skill set. They got big guys, they got fast guys, they got, in and out guys. And so they got an array of traits in that room. And so Hopkins is a great player, obviously. A.J. Green can still do some things on the edge. Number 83, Dorsch, is doing a good job as well. Robbie Anderson. They got a bunch of guys that have different skills, and they utilize them pretty well.
Special teams coordinator Dwayne Stukes also spoke to the media today and discussed his impressions of Montreal Washington and how he's progressed.
I thought we did a better job executing, obviously, on punt. We got back to the standard that we've been trying to get around here since day one. But we didn't win the game, and that's the most important part. Yeah, I commend Montreal for doing a good job as far as returning mechanics and providing explosive returns for our offense, but at the end of the day, we want to win the game.
And last but not least, Coach Hackett detailed what he's looking for from this team over the final 4 weeks of the season.
One of the things that we've talked a lot about is control what we can control. You're always going to control your attitude, your effort. That's something that Russ talks about all the time. And I think everything's being evaluated always. Every single person in the organization is always being evaluated. And whether you're in the playoffs or not, it's about how you handle everything, how you approach your job every single day, how you attack the field on practices and meetings and everything. So it is a challenge. It's hard when you don't have a chance to go to the playoffs. But we are professionals, and we're out here to win every day.
And as we wrap up the top news of the day, let's take a look at today's injury report. The only changes from yesterday's report are quarterback Russell Wilson. He was limited today, and safety Kareem Jackson was a full participant. Coach Hackett gave an update on Draymond Jones. He is seeing a hip specialist, and they're taking it day by day with him. And I had a chance to catch up with Arizona Cardinals team reporter Dani Sureck to take a look at this matchup from the Cardinals' perspective. Take a listen.
Dani, so nice to see you again. Thanks you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Cindy. Excited to talk about this matchup.
Yeah, of course. How are things going over there in Arizona?
Things are going. It's definitely been a wild offseason and season so far at 4-9. Definitely not what the Cardinals were expecting to be at this point in the season. Long list of injuries similar to the Broncos, but losing your franchise quarterback in Kyler Murray in Monday night's game against the Patriots for a year with a torn ACL is just not the best way to end the season. But 4 games left to go, 4 opportunities to finish strong for this team.
Yeah, there's a lot of similarities in this matchup this weekend with, potentially both starting quarterbacks being out of this weekend's game. We obviously will see how Russell Wilson progresses this week, but Dani, you mentioned it. Kyler Murray, ended up tearing his ACL on Monday night. What have the coaches been saying? What's the latest on him? So sad to see that.
Yeah, it was the start of the game. It was the 3rd play. He scrambled. It was a non-contact injury, and you could tell right away that it was not good. He was tended to by the trainers, carted off with a towel over his face to hide his tears. And the way that he approaches the game is just with such intensity and so much passion. So to see the leader of this team, your franchise quarterback, go down in so much pain, and the beginning of the game was not easy. However, I do think that this team did a good job of maintaining its composure. They ended up having a lead shortly after. The update, though, with Kyler is tore his right ACL. Right now, he's just resting. The plan is for him to have surgery after Christmas when some of that swelling goes down a little bit more, but pretty unfortunate. They don't know yet until you get in there and you do surgery at, how much you have to clean up and what the recovery process will look like into next year. So right now, Cardinals are riding behind backup quarterback Colt McCoy.
Yeah, while hoping Kyler has a speedy recovery. You mentioned it, backup quarterback Colt McCoy. He stepped up for Kyler, and you mentioned Kyler's injury came really early on in the game, so played most of the game. Dani, what did you like about Colt's performance versus the Patriots on Monday?
Well, it's no secret that not many quarterbacks in the league have the same skill set that Kyler Murray does. And that's not a knock on Colt McCoy. That's just high respect to Kyler Murray. So the fact that this coaching staff and this offense had to quickly change the game plan, I was impressed with how they did it. Now, the unfortunate part was Cardinals went up against a very good Patriots defense under head coach Bill Belichick, which is not an easy thing to do, even when you have an entire week to prepare for that. But I like the way that Colt plays. I think that he does a good job at going through his reads and being quick and decisive with the ball and making smart decisions. He's been a backup quarterback for a long time in this league. He's in his mid-30s, and he'll tell you that. So he has seen quite a bit. And there's a reason that this team holds such confidence in him because of his ability, because of his knowledge, and also the way that he just maintains control in the huddle and how he leads this team. And he has relationships with everybody, offense, defense, this entire team, such good relationships. So while of course you would love to see Kyler Murray out on the field, there is very high trust and confidence in Colt McCoy out there.
Yeah, Dani, how do you think maybe this offense might change moving forward with Colt McCoy? Now that they've had a full week of practice with him, how do you think this offense will change moving forward?
I'm not sure that there will be any drastic changes to the offense as a whole. I think more so, maybe some of those draw plays, some things you would want to see out of Kyler Murray with those legs, because that's what makes him stand out.
Right.
That's what makes Kyler Murray such a unique threat. While Colt McCoy will focus more on those throws, but still running the ball, which the Cardinals have done well the last couple of weeks, despite having 4 of their 5 starting offensive linemen on IR. James Conner, their running back, has logged more than 200 yards in the last 2 games. Really started to come alive at this point in the season. But it's interesting that even though they made that change at quarterback, the Cardinals were still going for the deep threat. Now, they weren't a ton of connections Monday night against the Patriots. However, we didn't see any sort of change in that aspect of the type of throws or plays that were being called with having Colt McCoy out there instead of Kyler Murray. I think the biggest thing you can expect to see that will be different is just some of those draw plays, RPOs that Colt McCoy probably won't use his legs the same way that Kyler Murray would have.
Right. Well, Dani, looking at this offense, what has it really meant for this team to have wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins back in the lineup?
He makes such a difference, even if he does nothing besides standing out there on the field, and the way that defenses have to game plan for him. The way that he'll tell you, he's not the fastest out there. He's not going to create the most separation, but it's very hard to beat him when the ball is in the air and he can catch that pass. And that's what makes DeAndre Hopkins. And so the way that defenses have to game plan for that, which allows the rest of the offense to open up, Hop's ability to, again, make those contested throws and to also draw penalties has been really important with how he's played a role in this offense. He might not have found the end zone a ton of times, but he has still been impactful. And in the 7 games he's played this year after being suspended for those first 6, he's averaging 93 yards per game. So he is definitely an impact on this offense. And both quarterbacks, Kyler Murray and Colt McCoy, when they've been in, have made it clear that they really trust D-Hop, and they have that chemistry when you look at the number of targets that he has compared to the rest of the receivers.
Well, Dani, looking at the Cardinals defense, who is one guy you really hope to see step up this weekend?
I think it's important to look at the secondary. I know that, Jerry Jeudy came alive last week, and especially if there's a chance that Brett Rippon isn't playing, you're going to want to go to those trusted receivers. And the secondary is where I would look to expect those players to step up, whether that's, safeties Budda Baker or Jalen Thompson, cornerbacks Marco Wilson, who will likely be able to go. He suffered a stinger in Monday night's game. However, the coaching staff did seem confident that he would be able to come back for this week's game. Also looking at Antonio Hamilton, because it doesn't seem like starting cornerback Byron Murphy, who's missed the last month or so with a back injury, will be ready to play. He's been day-to-day, so that is still up in the air, but I would expect the secondary to have a really important game going up against these Broncos wide receiver group.
Well, last but not least here for you, what's kind of been the team's mindset this week as, they look to bounce back from that Monday night loss to the Patriots?
It's really interesting because despite being 4-9, mathematically, the Cardinals still have a chance to make the playoffs. However, this team knows that those chances are slim to none. So at this point, it's about being professional, and it's about playing strong these last 4 games and really just playing with pride. At the end of the day, somebody is constantly going to be looking at the film you put out there. You are constantly playing for your job in this league, coaching for your job in this league. But more so than that, it's just about playing with heart and being a good teammate, playing for the person sitting next to you in the locker room. And I will say that despite the games that the Cardinals have lost, whether it's been close or it hasn't, truthfully, you can say that they have fought until the very end. There haven't been a lot of those mental errors at the end of the game, or where they just look completely worn down or dejected and just not really giving effort. You can't say that about this team, if anything, being at 4-9. So I would expect that to continue these final 4 games.
Well, a lot to be on the lookout for this week. Dani, appreciate you so much for joining me today and appreciate your insight. I look forward to seeing you this weekend at Empower Field at Mile High.
Can't wait. Thanks for having me on.
Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now, Broncos Country. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope you will meet me right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow for a game preview. I will see you all then.